Ever try to just pay a parking ticket online
Yeah.
and you end up feeling like you're in some crazy maze?
Right.
Like Kafka designed it. That's
Yeah.
kind of what we're looking at today.
Yeah.
Public services in this digital age,
That's interesting.
where they try to make it easy, but it ends up being this
Right.
digital bureaucracy nightmare.
It really is fascinating.
It is.
Because you'd think moving these services online
Right.
would be simple, right? I mean, efficiency. You can do it at any time.
24/7 apps.
Less paper, but
Less paper.
the execution
Right.
is so tricky.
Well, and we've got a bunch of research here, articles and case studies all about, user-friendly design and these public services and how it all affects people.
I think by the end of this deep dive,
Yeah.
you'll have a much better idea of not just the problems,
Yeah.
but what really makes for a good digital public service.
Okay, so let's just start at the beginning.
Okay.
What do we even mean?
Yeah.
When we say user-friendly design,
Right.
it can't just be like making the website look nice, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's about the whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
You want intuitive navigation
Yeah.
and instructions that actually make sense,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure it's accessible to everybody,
Right.
regardless of their technical skills or disabilities.
It's like you shouldn't have to be a computer programmer
Exactly.
to renew your driver's license
Exactly.
online.
And I think one thing people don't think about a lot
Yeah.
is how important user feedback is.
Mm-hmm.
The designers need to be constantly getting input
Right.
from the people actually using these services.
They're the ones that are actually in the trenches.
Yeah.
With the forms and the broken links and everything.
And there are studies showing that when you integrate user feedback,
Right.
things improve dramatically.
Okay.
I mean, for example, one government agency saw a 20% increase
Wow.
in online service completion rates
Just from,
after they made some changes
okay.
based on user feedback.
So it's not about just looks.
Correct.
It's really about how people use it.
Right.
And making sure they can actually use it.
Exactly. And this is where this concept of digital bureaucracy comes in.
Yeah, that's...
It's this idea that as more and more services go digital,
Okay.
we risk making this system that's really hard to navigate.
All right, so let's break that down a bit.
That's right.
Because going digital does have some benefits, right?
Of course.
I mean, like you were saying,
Yeah.
streamlining things, less paper,
Right.
more accessible.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But the thing is, when we try to make things efficient,
Yeah.
sometimes we forget about the people.
Mhm.
We end up with all these different platforms. You have to log into each one.
Right.
And the forms ask for the same information over and over again.
Yeah.
And you can't get help from a real person
When you need it,
when you need it.
yeah, it's like you're trapped in
Right.
this digital maze.
It is.
And that can really affect people.
It does.
Especially people who aren't comfortable with technology.
Right.
Or maybe don't have good access to it.
Right. It creates this digital divide.
Yeah.
And can make things even more unfair.
So how do we avoid that? I
Yeah.
mean, how do we make sure that these digital public services
Right.
actually work for everything
Yeah.
equally and make it accessible?
Yeah.
Is there some secret formula?
Well, there's no magic solution.
Okay.
But there are some key things.
All right, let's get into those.
Okay.
Because I think we all want a little less frustration in our lives.
Absolutely.
Digitally.
Yes. So one of the most important things is simplicity.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Seems obvious, but I imagine it's harder than it sounds.
It is.
When you've got these
Yeah.
complicated government processes.
You really have to make an effort.
Yeah.
But the main thing is to think about the user.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many steps does it take?
Right.
Is the language clear?
Yeah.
No jargon?
Like, don't make me dig through 5 pages to
Yeah.
find out how to pay my dog license online.
Exactly. And that goes along with accessibility.
Oh,
You have to design these services for everyone.
Got it. So, like, people with disabilities,
Yeah.
different languages, different levels of, comfort with computers.
Exactly. So we need things like alt text for images,
Uh-huh.
different language options,
right.
make sure it works with assistive technology.
So everybody can use it.
Everyone has equal access.
Okay, so we've got simplicity,
Right.
accessibility.
Right.
What else?
Feedback mechanisms are really important.
So give people a way to tell you what
Yeah.
they think.
Exactly. Good or bad.
Yeah.
We need to get that feedback
Mm-hmm.
and use it in the design process.
Okay, so like surveys, user testing, forums, or even just a little button that says, was this helpful?
Exactly.
Makes people feel heard
Yeah, and it gives designers information
that they wouldn't have.
they wouldn't have thought about.
Okay, so we've got simplicity,
Yes.
accessibility,
Yes.
feedback.
Uh-huh.
What else?
This might seem counterintuitive,
Okay.
but we can't forget about human interaction.
Oh, so not just getting rid of people altogether.
No, because even though we want to automate as much as possible,
Right.
there are always going to be times
Yeah.
when people need help from a person.
Like when you get stuck
Yeah, or you have a question.
and the website can't answer it.
Right, so things like helplines
Uh-huh.
or chat support
Okay.
or even in-person help,
Can make a big difference.
a big difference.
So it's all about finding that balance
Yeah.
between efficiency and actually helping people.
Exactly, technology should help us.
Not make it harder.
Exactly.
This has been really interesting. I'm thinking about all the bad websites I've used
I think we all have.
and how they could be better.
But the good news is
Yeah.
people are starting to realize
Mm-hmm.
that user-friendly design is important.
Okay. Yeah.
And as things get more digital,
Yeah.
it's only going to get more important.
So how do we make sure things keep moving in the right direction?
Right.
How do we hold these government agencies accountable
Yeah.
to make these services actually user-friendly?
Right.
Do we just have to wait for them to figure it out, or
Right.
do we have a role to play?
I think it's both.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? We started with all those feelings of frustration when you're trying to deal with public services online,
Right.
but we actually got into like the nitty-gritty of how to make things better.
And I think that's the important thing.
Yeah.
It's not about making things pretty.
Right.
It's about really helping people.
And when we're talking about public services, it's about making sure that everyone can actually use them.
Exactly.
No matter who they are or how good they are with computers.
And when those services are bad,
Yeah.
it's more than just annoying.
Right.
It can actually make it harder for people to participate.
Yeah.
And it makes people not trust the government.
Right. Like it has real consequences.
Real consequences.
So where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that things keep getting better?
Right.
And how do we make these agencies actually prioritize this stuff? Do we just sit around and wait for them, or do we actually have a role to play?
I think it's both.
Okay, I'm listening. What do we do?
I think it starts with demanding better.
Okay.
Don't just accept a website that's awful
Yeah.
or a process that makes no sense.
Right.
Let them know what's wrong.
So give feedback.
There's feedback.
Even if it's just telling our elected officials
Exactly.
what's working and what isn't.
Use your voice.
Yeah.
And tell them that this is important.
Like, it's our responsibility
It is.
to make sure the digital world works for everyone.
I agree.
This has been really eye-opening. It's made me realize that we don't have to just put up with this.
We don't really.
There are things we can do.
There are.
So as we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a little challenge.
Okay.
Think about the last time you had to deal with a public service. Could have been online, over the phone,
Yeah.
even in person.
Right.
What could have been better?
Yeah.
What would a truly user-friendly version of that service look like?
And what can you do
Yeah.
to make that happen?
Because it matters.
Your voice matters. Your feedback matters.
We can all make a difference.
We can make sure that digital public services actually serve the public.
That's a great place to end.
It is.
Thankful for joining us for this deep dive
Yeah.
into the world of user-friendly public services.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you learned something new,
Yes.
that you're thinking about things a little differently.
And that you feel empowered
Yeah.
to demand better.
Because good design isn't just about making things look nice.
No, it's about helping people.
Building trust.
And creating a world that works for everyone.
Exactly. A CE2